Oh, well, oh, they may rejoin us. So I do want to report back. We were in executive session. We met with our Deputy Attorney General to meet regarding our duties, privileges, and liabilities. She gave us counsel. No action was taken. And it was specifically in relationship to this agenda item regarding Senate Bill 1100 and House Bill 427. So with that being said, we are back on, we're going to go back on the record, and we've heard from all of the council members. So now I'd like to open it up for members of the public to provide us any comments that you may have regarding either House Bill 1100 or House Bill 427. In the event that the council decides to take any action on this. So with that being said, is there anybody here that would like to provide comment? Please come on out. You always provide good written and oral comments.
Always nervous with public speaking. It's not my strong suit. I enjoy writing and getting ideas across that way. Hello, chairs, members of the council. Thank you for considering our written testimony and for allowing me to talk today. I enjoyed putting together our letter from CGAPS because I took a stroll down the memory lane, reading the old.
Sorry, your name is?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Stephanie Easley with the
oh, I'm
coordinating.
sorry.
Group on SDGs.
Just know her.
Thank you very much. I'm so excited.
You're doing so well.
So I just took a look at the old minutes of this council from the beginning and the original meetings with the excitement and the room with everyone in it, and all the potential of this council. I have here in my phone the meeting in 2011 was opened by the governor of the state, and the different co-chairs that have played the role and council members and all of the actions that the council has carried out over its since 2003 and the success that it has had. And it was really a fun started to put together to see how successful this council has been at providing this in this forum, a level playing field for transportation, health, consumers, natural resources, and of course, agriculture, to all come together and have their voices heard. And I just, for thank you for consideration of our testimony, the mechanics of this bill are incredibly complicated. The two bills will presumably both bills pass the chambers. They will both go to conference and then one text will be agreed on. In SB 1100 SD2, the version that passed the Senate, that does contain language that still uses the HISC through HVOA. So that would be a version that would be in consideration at the conference, even though subsequent versions have all taken out. And our position, as stated, is we hope that it can remain in DLNR, continue the great work that it's done this more than 20 years. HDOA so much on its plate and is getting so much more. And having this separate form where everyone is together, I think we believe is great for invasive species. And just quickly, I don't want to take too much more time. So that's the movement. And then the other issue addressing these bills is the oversight of the council by the deputy chairperson for biosecurity of the Department of Agriculture. That's a separate issue. As we mentioned in our testimony, we believe that a deputy of any component agency should not have oversight over the council. Creates a situation where that person would actually oversee their own chair and then all of these other departmental heads. And so we hope that it will remain an independent council without that oversight component. And sorry, my notes. Anyway, that's what I wanted to raise, and thank you again for consideration and the great work you're doing.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate your written testimony and being here in person. Is there anybody else here? Yes, please come on out.
Better hear than me.
Hello, chairs,
Hello.
members of the council. My name is Zane Duby. I'm the manager for the Wildlife Invasive Species Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to be here, provide some testimony. I did provide written testimony. Unfortunately, I emailed it to Jack early this morning, so it was a little bit late. I'm not sure if you folks have had a chance to see it. In general, echoing a lot of what CGAPS has testified, and especially the support that the HISC has provided to OISC and all the island invasive species committees over the years. Kind of going alongside with the oversight component that Stephanie just mentioned, there is a portion of SB 1100 that was, I forget which version it was put in, but it regards the invasive species dashboard. And while OISC strongly supports the intent of this, I wanted to highlight some of the issues that may come down the line if this portion of the measure is still in play. Right now, we do have some data sharing barriers because of the University of Hawaii data governance policy. I have brought those up to the principal investigator of PCSU, the Pacific Cooperative Study Unit. She's checking with the lawyers at UH to see how we can resolve this. It's also something that has been a subject and I think a little bit of a barrier regarding the MOU between DLNR, HDOA, and UH. In a sense, essentially what it revolves around is I've been instructed that as it is a provision of a lot of our funding awards we provide the data that is required in those RFPs. But if we want to share data outside of the Pacific Cooperative Studies Unit or with an entity that is not a funder, we run into these barriers with certain protected data classes. And this is all somewhat new to us. It's only been within the last couple of years that we've had to undergo data governance training at the university, but there are certain classes of protected data. And I'm not familiar with any of the data governance policies of any of the other representatives on the council or how that would complicate things. But from the university side, at least for OISC, we work across all land ownerships. And a lot of times that brings us into people's backyards. And so we hold data like people's names, contact information, addresses that is considered sensitive data. So we have to take special precautions when we house that data. Sharing that data, we've been advised, unless it's a funding agency or a PCSU agency, I have to get approval from my principal investigator in order to send that data off. Even with one of our close partners, Bishop Museum, right now, we're trying to work with them on an eradication project, but we're running into barriers in being able to share with them the full extent of certain species and where they reside on the island. So I think it's something that can be resolved. I just want to highlight it, that it should be discussed, it should be addressed. And I think an agreement, from what I understand, would resolve that, but it would require the university. And I don't know if it's through the HISC or if because the Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity co-chairs the HISC, if that would be an agreement in itself, since the HISC is providing the funding to OISC, and we then provide all of our data, island wide that we do each year. We just want to make sure that folks are aware, because in that provision, I believe it's page 72, lines 8 and 9.
Wow.
It goes into how the biosecurity deputy chair would be responsible for compliance and enforcing compliance. And if there's something that prevents an ISC like OISC from providing this data because there's a barrier with data governance, I would hate to see any of the invasive species committees be made ineligible for HISC funding because of a technicality that could have been prevented if it was addressed early. So I just wanted to say that, and I'm available for questions, but it's not my area of expertise, so I'll do my best.
So at present, are you able to share any data with DOA?
I would have to get approval from
I
our
see.
principal
Okay.
investigator.
Co-chair,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, go on.
Nate, this is a comment. The statute that established the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development, I represent DBED on this council, but I also work for the Office of Planning. Our statute has similar language that says, and we've never had to make it operational, but it says if a state agency refuses to give us data that we need for a planning study that is part of our mission, we can ask BNF to withhold their funds. Now, I don't anticipate ever having to
That's a
do
big
that.
stick.
Let me write that down.
Wow.
Yikes. It wasn't.
Note to self.
I
said, let me write that
Yeah.
So there, I think I saw a reference that similar language is currently in. I think that may be the precedent that was set in 1987 when the Office of State Planning was established in the Office of the Governor, may have been the source for that. And it may have it may help to get through barriers. And I'm not saying legally, but help just in the discussion of getting through data sharing barriers. And we do sit on the DAGS's Enterprise Technology Systems Data Governance Advisory Committee. And we want to see barriers to data sharing be reasonable, because it's exactly what the HISC is a multi-jurisdictional, multi-agency coordinating entity, and shared data is critical. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you. So perhaps Dean Greenwald, he's paying attention to this, because I'm assuming that it's back to the university, PCSU. Yeah. So maybe, but it does sound like there is an approach to resolve this issue. Okay. Thank you so much, Nate. I appreciate your.
Sorry, can I just ask, your data though is shared however it's shared, but is that data also put up on a web so the public can see where these invasives may or may not be? Or I know you don't want to do addresses and names and all of those, but is it by not even zip codes, by, just on a map somewhere?
We do have maps published on our website. The scope is something that I think is really important. So if it's, things like heat maps or buffer systems that across vast sections, if somebody really wanted to go to a separate map and zoom in and find the exact TMK and then go to the city and county website to see the owner of that TMK, they could. And the TMK layers that we use are all publicly available on the county website.
Right.
So it just seems like there's a little bit in the data governance policy that is potentially getting, I don't even want to say it's getting applied, potentially getting applied to this situation. And while we wait for clarity, we've been instructed to just kind of hold off on everything. But if names and addresses that are attached to TMKs and parcels already that are made public by the county, I don't necessarily see why.
Right.
Although there is the issue of when you do find a certain invasive species, it can, it can reduce real estate values or other things. And so I think people are just really wanting to be careful. So I just wanted to raise the issue now. I've put it in testimony as well for SB 1100, just to make folks aware that this needs to be resolved more quickly, or I think all of the projects that apply for HISC funding could be
At risk.
implicated. So I just would hate to see any of that happen on such a technicality when we're all about sharing data. I think that's one of the things that leads to a successful response of any invasive species. And before these data governance policies were really applied, we shared data freely. It was only until they told us you have to be more careful.
Okay, thank you for that additional information. All right, is there anybody else in the room who would like to provide comments? Okay, do I have anyone on Zoom? I see several people. I see Franny and Chuck. Okay. Okay, Franny, go ahead.
Yeah, just to follow up on what Nate said, I think one of the concerns that we have with that is that in SB 1100, that part about the data, it's not just sharing within departments, but it's to make it that data would be used for HGOA to make it available. They're required to make available information on a public facing dashboard. So there's sort of a different set of rules between sharing. We can share within partners and set up MOAs and MOUs, but when that data gets put out to the public, we don't release, because we do so much work on private property, we don't release to the public any kind of granular level data where people could see what properties these invasive species are on. And we'll do heat maps that'll show it's in the area, but nothing that goes to the public is going to give you a chance to be able to see the location exactly to a person's property. And this was really important for us when we did the access deer response. If people remember, we had an illegal introduction of access deer several years ago. We were, in order to work on the ranches, the private ranches where the deer had been released, it was a requirement that we could not share that information. We could not share the information where the deer was found. We couldn't even give more than just the district where we were working, because the landowners did not want people illegally coming onto their land to try and shoot deer. So it was really important as part of the agreement that we have with the landowners. And we often see that with different invasive species, that people don't want that data out to the public. So it's just something to think about, like not just the sharing within, but what gets put on that public dashboard. And there's nothing in the bill right now that lays out which species are going to be put on this public dashboard, or who decides which species are put on the public dashboard. It's very open-ended. So I think it's something that it would be good to have some clarity on before that becomes a law.
So I agree. Nobody wants their name, address, phone number, publicly out there, and that you house CRB or Koki or whatever. So maybe I watched too much TED Talk, I don't know. But there was a TED Talk that said publicly funded research, publicly funded data collection needs to be available to the public, needs to be publicly available. Now, that's not the case here. I heard from Nate that it's privately funded, and on and on and on. So that's fine. But here's where we're sitting. The Act 231 gave us $800,000 for tech upgrades. And the tech upgrades that we were asked to do was make it more transparent to the public. The work that we do needs to be transparent. We need to be, but you know what? There's a fix for that. I've been talking to really smart people that know a lot about very high level technological layers of GIS and Esri and all these words that I don't quite understand. And apparently there's a way that you can make layers of information available, is Franny said, on a heat map basis. Just, let people know, hey, you got Koki on the hillside. You don't have to say, specifically, or you can layer it. And all of us know that despite our best efforts to keep our information private, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can go in there and find out information down to the granular level, as you said, Franny. So we're at the Department of Agriculture with this funding for tech upgrades. We're finding that there's a way to do this, as our guys go out and do their work and collect information. And the current contracts that we have are residential. They're public and, public spaces and residential. So we have a disclaimer. We say, are you a waiver? Are you aware that you're giving us authority to come into your property and treat your property? Are you aware that this could be disclosed because we're using public funds to do this? And if they say yes, fine. If they say no, then we would withhold it. We wouldn't withhold the service, but we would try to find a way, or maybe we would have to withhold the service. We would know. So we're working around, there's a workaround, and, to Nate's question, we certainly don't want to put you in a position, we are a partner, we rely on you, we work together, and we won't do that. But we have our own funding, we have our own systems. We can do this on our own. If we have to, we will. So that's all I have to say. But I do know that publicly funded work needs to be available to the public. I mean, that's kind of like, no.
Franny, did you, we're taking public comments on House Bill 1100, 427. Was that your comment?
Yeah, that was the program we were concerned about.
Okay, thank you. I also have, is it Chuck? Chuck?
He's his staff. He's
Okay.
just.
You're just observing.
But we appreciate.
Yeah, I didn't have a comment, but I did want to mention that there were some other participants on Zoom that I don't know if they were here to provide testimony or just attend the meeting. But with the break, I know that a few individuals have not rejoined. So just wanted that noted. I could send a message out to the HISC email to let people know the meeting has resumed.
Yeah, you could do that.
I'll do that right now.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other comments? Again, council, I guess as Chuck is emailing people, the purpose of today was really to just provide everybody an opportunity to get greater informed and let you know the status of the various bills that are moving. But does the council, are you inclined, or do you, what's the, I guess, the desire of the council? Do you want to provide greater instructions to Chair and myself, as well as Chelsea? There's probably going to be 2 more committees left that we can provide testimony. Again, our practice has been Chelsea will draft testimony similar to what's already been drafted, and then both Chair Hurd and I have an opportunity to review. But council members, do you have, do you want to add anything? Yes, Mary Alice.
Co-chairs. For item on our agenda number 5, authorization for co-chairs and council departments to advocate on behalf of the HISC. My sense of the discussion on the 2 bills was that this might not be the right time to transfer the HISC to the Department of Agriculture, and that if the co-chairs wish to testify to that effect, that would be my manao on that particular action item.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Does anybody else want to add to that, or do you want to make a motion or anything?
Versus, Mary Alice, you're leaving, as I understand it, you're leaving it up to the co-chairs to decide whether they wanted to provide testimony regarding keeping the HISC DLNR. Is that
With
your?
awareness of how the conversation,
Okay.
but among the members and from the public, the direction it took, which was that there seemed to be a consensus of the council and the public testifiers that transferring the HISC at this time would not be the way to ensure that our state coordinated efforts to prevent and mitigate invasive species could go forward full strength at this critical point.
So I'm wondering then, are you asking if we take that positive step and provide testimony to say that as a body, we would prefer to keep HISC at this time in DLNR?
Yeah.
Okay,
That-
I just
that
wanted
would-
to clarify
yeah,
that.
No, and I
That
will
is
tell
the
you,
testimony, right?
that would be very helpful, because at this point in time, our testimony has been the co-chairs take this position. But it would be helpful if we could say that the HISC as a council met on this date. As a result of that, the HISC as a body took action to support, or to support that HISC continue to be with DLNR until such time as, the timing is just not right. So it leaves open the whole transition.
Mhm, the
And it
transition.
leaves open up to the legislature, but I think it is important, rather than just the co-chairs taking that. For me, I think it's a more powerful statement if we can reference this meeting today, and then an action was taken by the HISC council.
So if that's Mary Alice's motion,
Yes.
I will second it.
Okay, does everybody, I'm gonna,
It's easy.
so a motion has been moved and seconded. I'm gonna open for discussion. Does anybody want to add anything on that? Dean? Okay. All right, seeing no further comments, I'm gonna call for the motion. All in favor? Let's do a roll call vote, Chelsea. Let's go over, okay.
Aye.
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 I'll abstain.
Oh, okay. So there's 2, 4, 5 voting aye and 1 abstaining. The motion still passes. Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
I appreciate that. I think it is, I would feel more comfortable representing the council and knowing that since we met. So, perfect. With that being said, are there any additional, we're on agenda item number 6. Is there any other public comments? Seeing none, and I do apologize, please extend our apologies to those members
No.
who were on the Zoom and, but I'm hoping we reflect their sentiment as well. So I am going to adjourn this meeting, having no other business before the council. I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
Yeah.
Mahalo, everybody.